Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala. I come to you from the Pacific Northwest where I live with my partner, our 2 kitties, and 2 adopted Mustangs. Information about the Wild Horse Adoption Program will be in the episode description box. This podcast covers knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and my other passions like vegetable gardening and bicycling. If you're new here, I hope you find the content interesting. If you're a returning viewer, it's always great to have old friends. The format of this channel typically includes musings on an early walk to the barn to feed the horses, then knitting content, some catch up on the horsemanship journey, and finally more musings or maybe a little bicycling footage if I was lucky enough to get out. Enjoy, and I hope to see you soon. Hi friends. Good morning. It is Friday, June 27th. It's about 6:10 a.m. So I haven't walked out to the barn yet this morning since it's still quite early. And yesterday I gave the horses quite a lot of feed because I had to go south to go to work and I wasn't going to get home late. But that's life stuff. Should we talk about knitting first? I'm on my second cup of tea, so I hope you have something nice to drink and a project to work on to amuse yourself during this podcast. I've been thinking a lot lately about what brings me joy, and I talked about this in my birthday vlog, and one of the reasons why I like to knit so much is because it gives me that sense of accomplishment, which of course made me think about, do I need to have a sense of accomplishment in order to feel joy? So that's my question for you. Do you need a sense of accomplishment to feel joy? I feel like I do, and I'm going to talk about this more later because I want to talk about my knitting projects. But first of all, what am I wearing? So I am wearing the Weir sweater. I believe this is a Barocco pattern, but I will link it in my show notes like I always do. I knit this quite a few years ago. It's out of a Barocco yarn. It's a wool and linen blend. I wear it a lot because it's kind of that nice weight for this time of year when it's raining out like it is right now. It's a knit in pieces, although I think everything is seamed. And in fact, there's a split hem, which I really like. It's a little bit longer in the back than the front. And then of course this nice little V-neck detail. Weir, W-E-I-R. So what have I been working on? So I was going to share with you my current projects. I don't have any finished objects because I have a lot of projects on the needles, so everything gets the amount of attention I can give it. So I'm knitting 2 patterns out of this book, Knit Happy. This is by Stephanie Lotven. She is the creator of Telly Bean Knits, and I'm knitting 2 patterns that can be seen here. No, wrong hand. Here. So this is the one I'm going to show you next. This is really hard to look at this. And then I'm also knitting this Bright Axis Tee, which is a bottom up sweater. So colorwork sweater and a bottom up sweater. So these patterns out of this book are all about using self-striping yarn in your knitting other than socks. So this is where I am on it. So you can see I've started on a sleeve. I finished the body. This is where, if you can see the progress keeper down there, I was almost to the ribbing last time, and the ribbing is all curled up, so it's not really showing very nicely all the amount of progress. And I don't know that I'm going to be able to, I haven't blocked it, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to make it. But I had like a couple rows of the edging to do, and then the ribbing. This is supposed to be a short sleeve sweater, but I have plenty of yarn, so I'm making it more of a long sleeve sweater. Normally the color work part, which is hard to see because I'm in the darker section of the color work or the self-striping yarn, so you can see on this yoke there's plenty of light colors, but there are some darker colors interspersed in, and that is what, and I doubt it shows up very well. I've been trying to adjust the lighting so it's not quite as glaring, and I hope that that works. So we do have dimmer switches on these lights, and I hope that's a little bit better and less reflecty. So I also think I have the camera in a slightly different, pointed away from a glare that was happening. Hopefully that works out. Anyway, I really like this sweater. This will be something I wear in the fall when the weather starts to turn because of this color work yoke. It's double thickness. It's fingering weight yarn. Oh yeah, I should talk about the yarn. So this is the self-striping yarn. This is Freckled Whimsy. It's a part of the Harry Potter Club colorway. Oops, that's the wrong label. Here it is. Magical Umbrella is what this is called, and this is a 8-stripe repeat from August 2023. The solid yarn I'm using is another fingering weight yarn. It's from Neighborhood Fiber Co. It's called Observatory Circle. So this is 100% organic merino, and it says it's machine washable, but I have learned to be a little bit skeptical about that. Not that I would throw a sweater in the washing machine necessarily. I would probably always just hand wash it if needed. Needles I'm using are Chagou red lace, US size 6 for millimeter, and for the ribbing it's a US size 5. You know how last time I went on and on about where are my US 5 needles because I knew I was getting to this ribbing? Well, I did find a pair that weren't involved in a project. So they are, I think they're the clover kind, and they work just great for ribbing and the smaller stuff. That's that project. This is in my crocheted float tote that I made. This is a Nitty Natty, or yeah, I think that's what her designer name is, Love and Stitches. So that's that project. I expect by the next week I will have at least one sleeve done. Maybe started on the 2nd. Who knows what happens? I'm not sure what we're up to this weekend. I don't really have any plans. It depends on the weather. I think it's supposed to get nice again. But let me talk about the other project that I'm knitting from that book. That is, and it's in this bag made by my mom. Great drawstring bag, perfect for a sweater size project made out of this garlic fabric. So here is where I'm at with this. Like I said, it's a bottom up sweater, and I'm using a Knit Picks. This is, let me show you the progress that I've made since. So this is just round and stockinette stitching. So I've made a significant amount of progress since last time. So hopefully next time you see this, it will be, I'll start on the yoke, which is going to be knit in this color. This is also self-striping yarn, Freckled Whimsy. So well, here, let me show you together. So I think this will go together really nicely. The solid color is Knit Picks, if I didn't already say that. The self-striping yarn is Dumbledore's Socks. This is Spells and Things, November 2022. So the Knit Picks is fingering weight, it's gloss, and this colorway is called Clarity, and it is 70% merino wool and 30% silk. So slightly different fiber content as the Freckled Whimsy. So I am using US size 3 for the ribbing, and for the, I don't seem to have the needle case in my bag. I wonder where that is. So, oh, because these are, I think these are Knit Picks. I wonder, these are probably a size 5. So this is where one of my size 5 needles went. I used to only have one size, what am I trying to say? I would only have one size of a particular needle, so if I was using it, I would have to finish that project. I don't do that anymore. I have lots of needles. In fact, I think I started when I would buy yarn for a project, I would buy some needles as like part of that project. I do secure this pretty tightly because Herbert likes to get into my yarn if he is able. Although I have been leaving this shawl on the back of the sofa. This is the, it's a Stephen West Exploration Station shawl, and I've been wearing it every morning when I get up and enjoy my first cup of tea and start knitting. And he hasn't bothered it, so hopefully. Oh, Harley just walked by. I was thinking it was Herbert, but it's Harley. Excuse me while I take a sip of tea. Also on the go is still, I'm in the round and round part. This is the mini mock neck tee by Jessie Maed Designs. So I have made, let's see, where was I last time? So Progress Keeper is in the front. So here it is. I haven't got very far. So I have started making Progress Keepers. This is out of a necklace. You see that where the chain broke. And in fact, on this sweater, the Progress Keeper is, no, it's not the Progress Keeper. It's the beginning of round marker is from an earring that my niece made some years ago. Anyway, let me finish talking about this. So this is, the pattern is for fingering weight yarn. I have 2 skeins of lace weight that I am holding double. This is hand-dyed yarn by Nativity, who is a yarn dyer from Houston, Texas. The needles are Chowgu red lace. The small needles are Clover, and they are a number 2, US size 2, or a 2.75 millimeter. These are Chowgu red lace, US size 4 needles. So I feel like when I've been doing just round and round knitting, I've been working more on the Axis tee than this, but that changes. Maybe I'll work on this over the weekend. Maybe I'll work on a lot of things over the weekend. Another project that I have on the needles, another garment. So I kind of do, no, I'm not doing all garment knitting. So this is a bag my mom bought me. She took a trip to Washington, D.C. with my grandmother, and she told me it was in the 90s that they flew to Washington, D.C. So that would have been, Grandma would have been probably in her 80s at that stage. So she has since passed. She passed in 2013 at the ripe old age of 98 and a half. So I am working on, I'm still working on the yoke of the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. This is hand-dyed yarn from Knittivity, the Houston dyer, and held with a strand of mohair, a Barocco mohair. So, but love this color. And this stitch marker, I think, or so I have made some progress. I've started on the lace section. I'm on, my size calls for 2 rounds of the lace, and I'm on the 2nd round. So I have made a fair amount of progress. I should move these while I am talking. So I'll move this to where I'm at now. So I'll have to remember to move the other ones. These are US size 10 or 6mm needles. They are, I think, a Knit Picks interchangeable set. So happy with this pattern. And again, that'll be more of a winter sweater because mohair with even figuring weight yarn is very warm. So that's that project. And then I have started working on doing Scrappy Sunday, and this is where I am working on my socks. So this is a self-drafted pattern. So this is, you've seen this before. This is the first sock. It's a walrus motif. And I am working on the 2nd sock. This is made by the doodles are the walrus, and these other colorwork patterns are by Pacific Knits Co. This is the book where the sock comes out of the pattern. It's a short row heel. I generally like heel flap and gusset. So the actual project is in this bag made by my mom. It's a lined drawstring bag with this cute farm animal fabric. And I am another set of US size 5 needles. So I have come a long way from the days when I only had 1 set of needles. So here is where I'm at with the sock. Finished the walrus motif. It's really, how can I make this easier to show? Well, you saw the finished one. I don't have a progress keeper on this. Maybe I should put one on there. Why don't I do that? Because I have several that I made last weekend while I was making strawberry jam, because I had plenty of time. So here's an example of a progress keeper. So this is an earring. It's probably going to be a little too heavy for that. Here's one that, you see that? That my niece made, and then here's one that I made from a necklace. So just a little charm that won't hold still, but I think it's the symbol of Om. It's kind of a universal peace sign. It makes you feel peaceful when you chant Om. Or maybe it's the rhythm of the earth, or I can't remember what it is. If somebody knows, feel free to comment. That would be awesome. Okay. Progress keeper attached. So it's been fun making those progress keepers out of jewelry that I don't wear. So this will be Scrappy Sunday project. And let me just show you how the doodles work. So you take you pick a pattern, and then you chart it out yourself using these handy worksheets that she provides. And that is how I charted it out. Pretty cool. The yarn is a mixed variety of probably DK and some worsted weight. I suspect that the walrus is in a worsted weight, and this could be a worsted weight too. I'm not really sure. But they're house socks, and it was just an experiment. So I'm having some fun with the doodles. I signed up for there's a Doodle of the Month club, and each month you can get a digital set of doodles, which are really nice because you get the worksheet, and then you can print out the worksheet, you can print out the doodles and cut them and arrange them on that chart. So that's pretty nifty, and you get a pattern, and the pattern this month is a cup cozy. So I will probably knit that eventually. I mean, one of the things I'd like to do is actually knit a cup cozy for my hot drinks, not necessarily my cold drinks. Because here in the Pacific Northwest, it often doesn't get warm enough. I mean, it can get quite warm in the summer, but usually not for very long. So I haven't really found it necessary to have a cold cup cozy for anything. And for one thing, I don't typically drink that many cold drinks. I don't drink soda. I drink iced tea once in a while. So keeping my warm drinks warm is more important. So my other scrappy project, this is the 100-acre wood blanket patterned by Kay Jones. This is for Summer of Stitching, and another nifty drawstring bag made by my mom. So I have like all my scrap yarn in this big bag, and then the actual project is in this smaller bag, the smaller drawstring bag, which has horses. The other thing that brings me joy. And I don't keep a progress keeper on this one necessarily. What I do is have a marker that reminds me which is the front. And I don't know if I showed this last time, but it's, I got it at so you can see there's 2 morel mushrooms. So I got this at Fiber Fusion Northwest a couple weekends ago. So this is the progress that I've made on the blanket. I feel like I was maybe in this square last time. So I made these few squares last Sunday for Scrappy Sunday. So lots of scrappy. Let me see, what is this little ball of yarn? I think this is an advent, part of an advent. So very pretty. It would have been, who would be the dyer for that? It could have been, might have been Polka Dot Creek, although that doesn't sound right. But that is often who I get yarn advents from. So using 2.75 Addy Flexi Flips that are flexible in the middle, so they're kind of nice on the hands, but they do need needle stoppers because they are metal and they're very slippy. So this is a long-term project that I'm just kind of having fun with. It's nice to know my scraps have a place to go, and I'll show you my scrap. So this is the bag where I have already used it, and there are a couple, you can see there's a couple pretty good size balls that I can probably make socks out of. And then there's these little teeny tiny ones that are probably going to have to go in, I don't know, a magic knot ball, or I can use them for the doodles, because those colorwork doodles, the colorwork part really take not much yarn at all. So that's a good place to use scraps. And then I have a whole bunch of stuff I haven't even wound yet. Oh, here is an example. It is Polka Dot Creek. So that little ball that I just showed you on the skein or the square I'm working on is Polka Dot Creek. And then I also have some minis from Row 1 when I was getting their subscription service. So I think this was from an exchange a scrap yarn mini exchange that I participated in a few years ago. So this is also a row 1 mini. So looking forward to getting those in and kind of refilling my scrap bag for other projects. So that's the knitting joy of this week. I talked a lot, I guess it was Monday when I finished my birthday vlog, about this book that I started reading. It was kind of I think it's called Meditation for Mortals. I'll show it to you here in a second. That my mom got me for my birthday. And it was a very timely book for me. It's a very easy read. It's the pages, or the daily meditations are, I don't know, 3 or 4 pages. So it's been very easy for me to read them while I eat breakfast. And some key points about, making the most of your time and embracing your limitations. And it's the art of letting go of being perfect. Because if you're like me, sometimes we can spend more time thinking about how things are not going to be perfect and how perhaps we shouldn't even start because it won't be perfect. And I think some of this comes from a place of, when we start from a place of scarcity, we don't want to waste something, whether it's materials like yarn or if you're a different kind of an artist, like you can do illustrations or paintings or drawings. We don't want to waste the paper or the canvas, or just using canvas as kind of using canvas as a metaphor for everything that we do. We don't want to waste the canvas. So I could even apply this to horseback riding. My ride on Odin isn't going to be perfect, and that is the canvas that I'm talking about, and I don't want to waste that. I don't want to ruin it. So I'm really trying to embrace the idea of being more curious than critical about how I approach things. So instead of defeating myself before I even get started, I want to be curious about it. And that doesn't necessarily come from this book, but there has been a couple, yesterday was day 4, and it talked about productivity debt, how we wake up in the morning and we already feel like we're behind on whatever it is we're supposed to be doing that day. And it's on the power of making a done list. So you make your to-do list and maybe you cross it off, but you can put that over on your done list, which is very satisfying. Another topic was about paying consequences. And I think that was also an important topic. Up until recently, I would say in the last 10 years, maybe, I was willing to accept a lot of consequences. So I was able to go through life fairly fearlessly, I suppose. Not in a careless or risky way. I would always try to do a risk assessment of whatever activity I was going to do and try to do it within my ability. So I had a lot more freedom, I think, to act. I'm not sure what made me realize that consequences were more serious. I'm sure part of it was injuring my arm so badly in January and still in recovery. That has taken a much greater emotional toll on me than I ever anticipated. So there's been the physical healing part, but there's also very much the emotional healing part. And physically, I'm getting stronger. I'm getting more coordinated. I'm able to do a lot more things. Some things still hurt. Even my hamstring, which has been pretty functional for months now, It's still kind of hard to get out and walk. I was going to say first few steps, but it's definitely longer than that. I can notice my hamstring for an entire walk, and I really haven't walked more than a couple miles since my injury. The good news is I don't notice that injury when I am riding my horse or my bike. So that is great news. Anyway, just thinking about embracing limitations, not being perfect, accepting consequences, and I've had to give a lot of thought to that too. My camera stopped, so it's probably time to wrap up this part. It looks like my camera's running out of battery, so I need to I need to charge it, and maybe I'll do that and I'll come back to that. How would that be? I'll see you soon. Hey friends, so it's time to go out and feed the horses. I've charged up my camera. Can't exactly remember where I left off when the camera cut me off. I think I was getting kind of deep into feeling a sense of accomplishment and maybe some steps to help me achieve that without quite such a high level of expectation. You know, the goal ultimately, of course, is to be happy. You can see I have a hat on because it's raining out. And I also realize I'm doing things out of order today. This whole week has been kind of out of order, not in a bad way. I took Monday off. That was the end of my birthday vacation, my staycation. Worked all day Tuesday, and then I took Wednesday off because the well guy came out to look, do some service on our pressure tanks and help me figure out why the well that serves the barn was spewing out this kind of dark, ucky water. And part of it is that the well brings up water that doesn't look that great. It's probably full of rust, which those of you who live on wells probably have experience with that. It could have manganese. I'm not terribly concerned about rust necessarily, but manganese, it at least has human health impacts. So we are getting a water quality test. I'm still in the habit of turning off the pump and then turning it back on in the morning. I don't know that I need to do that. Actually, that pump is in pretty good shape, which I'm glad, because that well is almost 400 feet deep. Anyway, it'll take about a month to get the water quality results back, so I'm just still doing what I can to preserve the water quality, to make sure the horses have something nice to drink. Anyway, that was Wednesday, which means that I am working today on Friday. So while I was waiting for the camera to charge, I did about an hour's worth of work, and I thought, you know, it'd be kind of cool, like, if every work day was like this, where, whoa, oh, there was a deer right there. Sorry. Hi. Aren't you cute? Were you taking a nap? I'm very sorry. So that one looks like, oh yeah, it's a little buck just coming out of velvet. So I found a nice dry spot to have a little nap. And apparently it feels very safe there and doesn't worry about me too much. Anyway, yeah, if every day could be full of nice surprises like that. So I had cake and tea for breakfast. That's lovely. It's not a very sweet cake. It's more of a coffee cake. So it's out of the rhubarb sauce cake from the Fanny Farmer cookbook. And then, you know, be able to knit and podcast and do some work. Oh, more animals. There is a bunny.
And I probably could make every day like that. So again, it's just kind of about reframing my expectations. Good morning, Oh. How are you? So I can't remember if I mentioned this, even though it was only an hour ago that I podcast and was kind of talking about, I know I mentioned that I had left the horses a lot of hay overnight, so it looks like they still have some hay. You probably can't see that. There's still some hay in the stalls. I fed a lot of hay out here. They ate a lot of it. So I am just kind of checking things out before I go feed them. Bragi thinks he's coming over. Hi guys. Good morning. How are you? How are you? You need a moment. Sometimes when they look away, they do need a moment. Good morning. You want a fist bump? Boop. Boop. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Okay. I don't know that I'm going to have any great conclusion from this. I think the main thing is, doing what we can to find joy in our lives. And I was feeling very stuck this week. I'm sure part of it, is triggered by having a birthday. Okay, this is going to be a low duck under the fence. And, that's always a time, not always, it's a time for celebration, a time for reflection. And I was just kind of reflecting on the state of my life, I guess, and where I was at. Maybe feeling a little stuck, and part of that has to do with a couple big projects. Two of them actually completed yesterday, so I can put that on my done list. Here, let's turn you around. Sorry if that makes you dizzy, but so I can put that on my done list, which is awesome. And I think that lifted a lot of it, and also just the internal work I've been doing about reframing my expectations and trying to be more curious about my canvas. So on that note, since I think I very tidily wrap things up, I am going to feed the boys and upload this podcast and get back to work. Have a great week.